Romance, teenage angst, sailing. This sounds a lot like the classic from Savage Steve Holland, One Crazy Summer. But the Italian Netflix drama Caught by a Wave isn't nearly as lighthearted. Is it something you should be checking out though? After falling in love at a sailing summer camp in Sicily, try that for alliteration, reality comes crashing down on a teenage couple when a harsh truth prompts a pivotal decision. Lorenzo and Sarah meet at a sailing camp and they hit it off. Over the course of the camp, which is kind of an indeterminate amount of time, they fall for each other and then begin to spend more and more time together after the summer is over. We learn from the trailer, which shows way too much of the story, that Sarah has something wrong with her that could alter the course of their relationship. Now, both of the characters are pretty likable, even though we don't know a ton about them. And we don't get a lot of depth to them as the story progresses either. But in this story, I still found it easy to understand them despite that lack of development. We get some insights into their family relationships, but the story really relies on us connecting with them just because they're charismatic. And luckily, I did connect with them, and they grew on me somewhat. Once we find out about Sarah and that she has something that's affecting her life, the story is rather predictable. From the way the scenes are structured and the looks that the characters give, the outcome is just being telegraphed really clearly. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing that it's predictable, but it does take away some of the punch of the story and also makes it feel a little longer than it actually is. There are a lot of great scenes with the two leads spending time together. They gaze into each other's eyes, they lay their heads on shoulders, they kiss gently, everything you need visually to convey some sort of romantic feelings. There's also some conflict in this that has to do with Lorenzo and sailing, and he's supposedly really talented and will be taking part in a regatta competition. There are character actions and disagreements that I think are supposed to feel just way more weighty and impactful to the story, and maybe even to add more tension and drama. They didn't really impact the story to me because I never felt any urgency to the regatta portion. In fact, for a large portion of the story, Lorenzo's pursuit of sailing, it just takes a major back seat and becomes almost non-existent. There's also a scene with a friend of his and sailing partner that basically comes out of the blue, and then the conversation that follows doesn't hold any weight, but it also just feels out of place, like we're missing this large portion of context that would justify the outcome of that conversation. Now, despite that, there are some good conversations between other characters that do feel more genuine and they fit better with the story, even if they're predictable setups. I think there are some areas that could have been really delved into more deeply when it comes to the relationships. Sarah and her parents have the typical tension that you'd expect, between teenagers and adults, but there's also more depth to their conversations because of Sarah's situation. It would have been good and way more emotional to dive into that more. The relationship with Lorenzo and his dad, and even with his aunt, had some moments of depth, but there was a lot more emotionality that should have really been explored. They were likable characters, but they could have become way more dynamic with some development into their relationships. And the more I think about it, most of the relationships in this movie are kept at surface level. The one between Sarah and Lorenzo is taken a bit deeper, but even that is only minimally explored. There's also a point where Lorenzo is doing something that is framed as sweet and loving, but when you really look at it, it was terribly selfish. And even though in his own mind, he's spinning it as benefiting somebody else. Now, that didn't make me like the character less, but it was unfortunate that so much time is spent trying to make him a nice and caring guy, and then to have it beat down because of some selfishness. Most of the emotion that comes in this is relying heavily on us feeling for Sarah and Lorenzo. And there are moments that are meant to elicit tears or maybe just sympathy, and I think they can to some degree, but also because most of the characters are kept at that arm's length like I talked about, we don't feel the full weight of something. At an hour and 39 minutes, this did move along fairly efficiently. There were some quieter moments that were a little sluggish, but they're also designed to entrance us more with Sarah and Lorenzo. So overall, this is a half-decent romance. I felt for the characters and enjoyed the concept of the story. It's wildly predictable, and I really wish that all of the relationships would have been explored more to give us a truly richer story that just grabs hold of our hearts. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and not really any violence. I give Caught by a Wave 2.5 out of 5 couches. So are there any good romances you've seen recently? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. I feel like this would have been the perfect review to sing Come Sail Away by Styx. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Yeah, you're welcome. Now you got that stuck in your head too.